Okay. Can the members of the committee please state their name for the record?
Yoel Katz.
Austin Britton.
Alexandra Dale.
Jacob Eisenberg.
And Abigail Mohamed as vice chair, sitting in as chair today. I call this meeting to order at 2 p.m. Who wants to take minutes?
I can take minutes.
Fire. Do you need the template?
I can just write notes and I'll do the template after.
Okay. Sounds good.
Give me 1 second.
And then while you're doing that, first up are ASOE nominations. We'll first be looking at Alexis Arnoldi. If you guys want to take 2 minutes to review. Jacob, can you time?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Start now.
Thanks.
What's that?
I have to name for that person.
Alright, thank you.
Okay, have you guys reviewed the first? Okay. I now open the floor up for 2 minutes of debate on the candidate. Starting now.
I like their idea about election info days. I thought that it was a particularly good idea, especially because voter turnout is increasingly higher, but not high enough. I think that a lot of times, like, you'll be tabling and they'll be like, "Oh, I can't vote. I'm a felon," and it's like, no, you're a student. Like, it's okay. Or they're the international students or whatever. So having an info day would be a good idea. It could be like something like the BGC Center has the voter registration drives. I think something like that would be very conducive.
I like that they specified reaching out to students from all backgrounds that might not typically engage with student government and just saying, we want to reach out to every single corner of campus and make sure everyone has the chance to vote if they want to.
Yeah, just building off of that, the social media campaign that they also brought up, I feel like is something that can definitely drive more outreach and try and get to more corners of campus than what I feel like the typical person who votes in the elections already is.
Yeah, I agree too, and I feel like having people talk about how they're going to represent their major classing is important too, because sometimes you don't want to talk to somebody in Turlington, but you still do care. So streamlining the process and having it be more informative definitely could increase voter turnout.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I now open the floor for motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to approve Alexis Arnoldi as ASOE, or for ASOE, the ASOE position by unanimous consent.
Okay, any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Okay, next up, Camden Gomez. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to review.
Hey everybody.
Hey.
Looking spiffy.
Thank you.
You dressed up just
For the
this.
4 in-person interviews.
Do you need the name for her?
What's up?
Do you need the name?
Yeah.
Camden Gomez.
Any thoughts, questions, concerns on my bill?
We haven't gotten there.
Okay.
I do have a couple of thoughts, but
Okay. I'm going to be deleting part of it and amending other parts to be more concise.
Yeah.
Came to me at like 11:40 on Friday. I thought it was going to be 12, so it's a nice 15 minutes. But I don't know why we were shopping.
Oh,
for
he's signing.
Oh,
Thank you.
I accepted these for no reason instead of giving ourselves more time to actually evaluate data. But
Okay. Has everyone had the time to review this candidate?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I now open the floor for debate.
Okay, just starting off their ideas I really like, especially something that happened in the spring election. I remember in the union, the lines were really long, and then because of a technical error, they just got backed up even more.
Yeah.
So having that extra Wi-Fi support would be awesome, especially during that first hour when I remember that problem occurred. So I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea because that's a real issue. I think them just saying they would implement extra routers is harder said than done. That's, that would have to go through things. But if we're running into issues with voting, I think that's something that would solve that for long term, is also, have permanent infrastructure to help people who are using the lab outside of voting as well. So I think that's great.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you both said.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I now open the floor for any motions. Do I hear any motions?
I motion to recommend Camden Gomez for ASOE by unanimous consent.
Is there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Okay. Moving on to Adya Harogiri. Okay. We'll take 2 minutes to review this candidate.
Point of inquiry: are we limited in how many people we can recommend for ASOE? I know there was like a big deck of ASOEs last time.
Yeah, so the minimum for this meeting is 4 ASOEs. So they recommended 4 is what their deadline was for the upcoming Senate meeting. I don't know if there's a maximum, but I'll figure it out before the next time.
Cool.
But they were required to recommend 4. So that's why also emergency meeting.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. If everyone has had time to review the candidate, I now open the floor up for debate. Do I hear any debate?
I think this person wants to be a senator more than an ASOE. That's the vibes I'm really getting from here. This is obviously someone who's really invested and passionate about leadership and service and contributing to the university. So I don't think that disqualifies them in any way from being an ASOE. I think they would be an excellent person given tasks to do it. Just their ideas are really based around what senators would run on and things like that, instead of addressing elections directly or indirectly. So it's a bit of a weird application in that sense.
And I've never seen a resume formatted that way ever.
Yeah.
The resume's a bit weird too.
Yeah, definitely interesting.
Yeah.
I really liked the opening line for the first question. Magnanimity and altruism.
Yeah.
You're a good writer. You're like,
Here's private school.
Yeah.
Is there any other debate on this candidate? Seeing none, I now open the floor for motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to recommend Adya Harogedi for Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to approve this candidate for an Assistant Supervisor of Election position by unanimous consent. Do I hear any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. And our last, Tobin Hertz. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to review.
No, I know.
You got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Has everyone had time to review the candidate? Okay, moving on, I now open the floor for 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I know this person. They're in my fraternity. I know them personally. I can say for a fact that, like, working as an ASOE for the last 2 semesters is something that not a lot of people applying for ASOE can say they have. They've built an extensive and working relationship with the supervisor elections. Lexi Sideropoulos, I think that this is the perfect candidate. He will do his job to the T, and knows how things work, knows how what is actually needed in this position. So I can't recommend this person enough.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it seems like he recently stepped into the role of Director of Accountability for the Treasurer's Office, so I'm sure he's going to learn a lot of skills in that role that he can apply to this position as well.
And so much of the other candidates, I really like the FAQ or host an event idea. That one would definitely be a little bit less plausible, but mainly like an online FAQ, something like that, where you could maybe post to the UF Senate or some form of social media just to continue to educate as much of the student body as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Everything here looks fantastic, and having someone with some experience in the ASOE process is going to help onboard a lot of the new ones as well, so I think it's fantastic.
Seeing as there is no more debate, I now open the floor for any motions.
I move to recommend Tobin Hertz for the position of Assistant Supervisor of Elections by unanimous consent.
There has been a motion to recommend Tobin Hertz for Assistant Supervisor of Elections position by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. We now move on to Juliana Perez. Juliana Perez applied for the position of Elections Commission staff member. And I'll give you guys 2 minutes to look over Juliana Perez's profile. Okay, has everyone had time to review? I now open the floor for 2 minutes of debate starting now.
I want to mention, I think they have obviously great experience, but it seems like a lot of the ideas they have are from the outside looking in, obviously by no fault of their own, but some of these ideas are things that are already in place, like a standardized procedure for reviewing complaints, I'm sure is already in place within the supervisor of election staff, and I don't think necessarily like a guidebook to how to vote would be productive, just because both parties or most parties usually post on their platform or whatever, like, these are the places you have to vote, and that's all you really need to know, because all you need is your student ID and you click a couple buttons. I think it's in the right direction, though, and I also really like their idea of targeted outreach. I think that especially like certain bigger organizations like HSA, BSU, ISA can be worked with to reach a mass of students that usually don't vote, to hopefully engage them in the voting process.
Yeah, kind of building off of that, just like some of their experience, like clerking for a judicial clerk and also having the experience being a Florida Law Review and a lot of the other things on the resume is incredibly impressive. So I definitely feel like some of their ideas may be a little bit basic in a way, or maybe already achieved, but I definitely feel like they are very qualified for the position.
I think so too. I also think that they were part of the executive legal secretary of student government here at UF during their undergrad year, so they definitely have some familiarity with how student government works here, and I think they can definitely apply that knowledge to this role.
And I think looking at their ideas, obviously we talked about them a little bit, but beyond the idea of outside looking in, it shows that someone who has identified what they view as issues within the process and said, not only are these issues and I want to address them, but here are things that I think are solutions to the issues or steps forwards, which I think just shows the type of personality for someone that we would want in these sort of positions. So.
Okay, seeing as there's no more debate, I now open the floor for any motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to recommend Juliana Perez to the position of Elections Commission by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Juliana Perez for the Elections Commission by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We're now in line to hear Drew Okun. He was also recommended for the Elections Commission. I'll give you guys 2 minutes to review. Okay, have you guys had enough time to review?
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that, I now open the floor for debate.
I know Drew personally, and I know that he's been involved in student government a lot, and he's very passionate about improving your student government. And I really like some of his ideas in his application, like, you know, increasing transparency and having like an FAQ section where they talk about their complaint system and their certification process. I think that would be very helpful and a really good thing to implement that will help with his goals. And I know he definitely could be the right person to implement that.
I agree completely. It seems like the FAQ section is kind of a constant in a lot of these,
Yeah.
so maybe someone reach out to Lexi. But I also wanted to say I don't know Drew that well, but I have talked to him several times. I actually talked to him during he was tabling for an anti-book ban organization that he started. I think that shows great intent in the direction that you want someone on an election commission to have, which is someone who is nonpartisan, who is for democracy, who's for just kind of opening these processes. And so I think it shows intention in the right direction, not to mention a very, very illustrious resume in student government. So.
Yeah, when it comes to his resume, I think it shows that he's been involved all around campus and doing a lot of things to help students. It's definitely a different type of experience than our other candidate had. It's definitely less legally focused, but I think when we're talking about a commission, you want people with a mixture of backgrounds and groups to be able to say, how do we represent the student body and these different things. So I think his experience, while very different, it will still apply and add a lot to the commission, so I think it's fantastic.
Seeing as there is no more debate, I now open the floor for any motions. Do I hear any motions?
I move to recommend Drew Okun to the Elections Commission by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to recommend Drew Okun from the Elections Commission by unanimous consent. Is there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. We are now in line for SSB 2025-1174. Seeing as there is an author present, you may have 5 minutes of presentation starting now.
All right, I'm not going to take up all of your time. Basically, the gist of this legislation is that the Constitution mandates that reapportionment or all apportionment legislation is submitted in the fall. So you can't actually submit anything over summer because although summer senators technically have the same authority, the founders of the UF Constitution wanted us to do it in the fall where the people were actually guaranteed to be elected by their constituents. So, with that being said, the Constitution says as follows: the Student Senate shall reapportion itself once per year during the fall academic term to be effective for the spring academic term and subsequent fall academic term. So basically, what I want this bill to do, and there are some changes I want to make, I basically want us to extend the deadline for the Judiciary Committee to submit this apportionment legislation. The way it's currently written in our own rules and procedures means we only have, like, for example, if this bill doesn't pass today, then reapportionment legislation must pass through the Judiciary Committee next meeting, which is extremely soon considering everyone just got back to school, people are still getting settled in with their classes. that's a 2-week deadline. It's really difficult to follow through on, especially if the data isn't as available as we'd like it to be. So, with this bill, I wanted to extend that submission timeline until 3 weeks before the end of the fall academic term. What that does, why I chose 3 weeks, is it needs 2 hearings. It can either be a resolution or it can be a bill of law. It's a resolution to recommend that it stays the same, bill of law in the event that you're changing the districting model. So 3 weeks means that even if we cancel the Senate during exam week, there are still 2 meetings left. So there's guaranteed 2 meetings during those final 3 weeks, which means no matter what, we'll be able to pass it during the fall. So ultimately on this, I want to strike the first change. The through a resolution is unnecessary. The only way you can really recommend something is through a resolution. I think I don't need to add that. For I like that I included that first statement because that over the summer it was debatable whether or not we were allowed to start the process because we couldn't draft legislation. This makes it very clear. For I'm going to change this phrasing to read, apportionment legislation may not be submitted to the floor of the Senate until the start of the fall academic term, period. Apportionment, the next sentence, apportionment legislation must be submitted a minimum of 3 weeks before the conclusion of the fall academic term. So it's the same language from the Constitution, reiterated in the rules, and I think that's a more reasonable ask of the Judiciary Committee. That's what I would address my time.
Thank you. We are now in line for 5 minutes of Q&A, starting now.
Okay, I had a couple of questions and notes on this. So you've answered some of them. In the 300 codes, term and semester mean separate things. So term is when Senate meets and the semester is when classes are. So term works better. Term works for what you intended there. So that does answer those things. And then the other thing was, are you right if we modify under duties of the committee? I think it's in 4. We would have to change that before every fall general election to match the new language.
Sounds great.
Okay, that was it.
Yeah.
Because that just also specifies fall general election, so we would say,
I'd say during the
fall term.
During the fall academic term outlined below, because that 3-week rule's down. Yeah, I agree.
Perfect.
Seeing as there are no more questions, we are now in line for 5 minutes of debate.
I mean, yeah, this bill makes a lot of sense. I think it definitely eases the burden on Judiciary Committee, not only because of the situation we're in now, obviously with Robert recovering, but also just because it creates more time for a very important decision. It was a very polemic issue over the past couple of elections. It is something that definitely needs time and proper debate on. So I think that creating more time and making it more easily accessible under emergency situations and guaranteeing 2 meetings is just a net positive for the apportionment process.
I think there's no reason for us to rush to get this done before the fall election. I mean, this is something that goes into place for the next spring, so it's not like it's going to affect the fall election anyway. So making sure that the committee has time to review the data, to apply it, to discuss with different groups about how to do it properly, I think this just gives us more time and takes the stress off of it.
Yeah, agree with what you both said.
Okay, seeing as there is no more debate, we are now in line for 2 minutes of final privilege.
I whiff.
Okay, we're now in line for any motions. Do I hear any motions?
I'll do mine first. I move to amend subsection BIV to instead read the Judiciary Committee will, during the fall academic term as outlined below, submit to the Senate legislation regarding the apportionment of the Senate, period, by unanimous consent.
Okay, there has been a motion to amend subsection B, subsection IV, by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Hearing none, that motion passes. Okay, it is the Judiciary Committee will, and then
will, during the fall academic term as outlined below, submit to the Senate legislation regarding the apportionment of the Senate, period.
During the fall academic Turn this outline below.
Submit to the Senate legislation regarding the apportionment of the Senate. And that's very deal.
I just made the change. Let me know if you guys see it.
Make sure it's red.
Yeah, it's right on my end.
Yeah, and in my edit, I was intending to get rid of the C below because we have as outlined below.
Okay.
They also have still before every fall general election.
Oh, I struck that. Okay. And I'll get
I
rid
see
of
it now,
C
yeah.
below. Okay.
Yeah, I came in.
I would also delete the comma between term and as.
Okay. Let me know if that works.
Okay, and then I have
Yeah,
written
go.
down that you want to do
Yeah, I
two
would
more
get rid of the
changes?
comma between term and as.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's deleted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's updated now.
Perfect. Are there any other motions?
I motion to amend SSB 2025-1174 in DI to strike through a resolution.
There's been a motion to amend SSB 2025-1174 to strike through a resolution by
Unanimous
unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Let me know when that updates.
what line is that on?
Yes.
DI.
DI.
DI,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Are there any other motions?
What was the language in D?
Fall academic term.
Fall academic term.
And the last one should also say fall academic term.
Okay. I would make a motion to, in subsection D, III, to amend it to read, apportionment legislation may not be submitted to the floor of the Senate until the start of the fall academic term and must be submitted a minimum of 3 weeks before the conclusion of the fall academic term by unanimous consent.
There has been a motion to amend SSB 2025-1174 in subsection D, subsection III, to amend some of the language by unanimous consent. Do I hear any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. Let me know if that's updated.
Yep.
Are there any other motions?
I motion to pass SSB 2025-1174 by unanimous consent.
There's been a motion to pass SSB 2025-1174 by unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing none, that motion passes. I adjourn this. Oh, seeing as there is no more legislation to be heard, I adjourn this meeting at 2:29 p.m.